around in my hair, fighting demons who have upper hands. They try to get me to obey their commands. For myself, I cannot sing. I try to, they follow me. I'm just a puppet on a string in my own hand. I will find peace, but I won't give up that easily. Go, 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 go away. There's no chance in hell I'll let you stay. You can make me go insane, so I'll run, 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 run away. Imagination is running wild. Imagination is running wild. Imagination is running wild. Imagination. I live a nightmare, but I don't even sleep. Can't find the difference from what's real and a dream. I didn't close my eyes and try to make peace with all the demons who live inside of me. For myself, I cannot think. I try to, they follow me. I'm just a puppet on a string in my own hand. I will find peace, but I won't give up that easily. Go, 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 go away. There's no chance in hell I'll let you stay. You can make me go insane, so I'll run, 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 run away. Imagination is running wild. Imagination is running wild. Imagination is running wild. Imagination. Go, 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 go away. There's no chance in hell I'll let you stay. You can make me go insane, so I'll run, 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 run away. Imagination is running wild. Imagination is running wild. Imagination is running wild. Imagination.